Welcome into Ben's in Berlin Center, Ohio. It's the Western Reserve Super Show, the Devil's Hour. I'm Chris Colucci. To my right is Coach Armeni. To my left is Coach Dot. We got a super show tonight. We got 4 players tonight and 2 coaches. Great interviews tonight. I'm excited for this. So let's get right into it. Last week playing Trinity. Coach, offensive side, what'd you see?
You know, they're a pretty good football team. Division 5 playoff team is kind of what we thought. Very athletic, very physical. So it was a good test. And anytime that we get thrown off our routine, it always makes a head coach worry. Playing Saturdays, going on the road. So not a big fan of change from the routine. But they were a very good football team, and our guys went up there and were physical. We shut them down. Were able to run the football effectively and, came away with a win.
Defensively, what'd you see?
Yeah, Trinity was a team with a lot of athletes. A quarterback was a 3-year starter and very dynamic, and we knew that we would have to stop the run. We thought if we could stop the run and rally to the football, we could chase them to the air a little bit, and we did that. And throughout the game, there may have been some moments where, I'm sure fans in the stands might have been a little nervous, but our guys were focused and dialed in, and we did a nice job and pitched a shutout.
Start this week at Columbiana, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge test for you guys. You're traveling to their place. Coach Spade always has a good team rolling. Talk to me what you guys see about Columbiana upcoming. Let's start with Coach Armeni.
I think they're better than their record shows right now. They haven't had much luck in the win column yet, but I know that they'll be ready to roll, on their home field. And I think that they have some guys, some good offense and defensive players. So right now we're looking, a leopard doesn't change its spots. We're a running football team. We have a couple of good running backs that we want to get the football to. And we want to have a timely passing game. So right now we're working one day at a time to get better, to put our best foot forward so that, we can be 1-0 this week.
Coach, defensively, what do you see on the offense from Columbiana?
Yeah, Columbiana is pretty athletic. Their quarterback, regional track runner in the 100 and their relay, so he's pretty quick. He's a guy that, I think hasn't fully tapped into his full potential yet through these first couple games, but we're expecting it. I think our guys are excited to get after him a little bit, both in the run game and the pass game, and hopefully we can force a few turnovers and stick to what our guns are.
I'm going to stick with you, Coach. You have just like a godsend tackling machine right in a middle linebacker for you. Talk to me how blessed you are of having that stud of a linebacker in there for you.
He is. I don't know if enough words can describe how talented Nate is. I've been fortunate to be around him his whole high school career. I mean, he was an All-Ohio linebacker as a freshman on a very talented team a few years ago. And, even these last couple of years, he just seems to put people in the right position. There could be a time where, I willingly have made mistakes, maybe the wrong coverage or the wrong front, and he just makes plays, and it's kind of like, whoa. He's one of those guys, and through 2 games, he has 35 tackles, and they've been, I'm sure Coach Armeni would agree with this, they've been quiet 35 tackles. He's just that talented. You're just like, wow, like it's a normal day at the office for him.
Now, Coach, on your side of the ball, how comfortable are you when it's that 4th and 2, 4th and 3, punt it away, trust your defense, or even go for it and trust your defense when you're inside in your own territory?
Well, that's kind of the script, to run the football, to make sure that we're methodical up front. And it's real easy to make real smart choices as a head coach when your defense is giving up 4.5 points a game. So right now we don't feel the need to open up the playbook. I mean, there's some things that we're working on. There's some things that I think we're capable of getting better at. But right now we haven't had to be too creative, which is a nice place to be. We're able to move the chains, eat the clock, and we eventually want to wear on teams. We were able to do that week 1 and week 2, wear them down a little bit up front and be able to break some runs to put some points on the board. But we haven't had to get too crazy, offensively. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to do a little bit of that as things go forward here, get some of those skill guys in space. But it surely does help when the defense is been dialed in like it has the last 2 weeks.
Offensive coordinators, head coaches, they hate having their quarterbacks go both ways. It's small school football, small town football. Talk to me about Pater playing both ways, playing safety quarterback. I know he loves to hit. We've been going out in the backyard ever since we were little, but
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on a quarterback going both ways?
You'd have to lock him in the locker room to keep him off of the defensive side. We messed with him a little bit this summer with joking to him that he couldn't play defense, and I mean, he was not a happy camper. Good thing we were just joking. He is a superb defensive player. Probably one of the better DBs in our league. In our conference. And he's definitely a two-way player. He's our long snapper on special teams too, and our returner. So he does a little bit of everything for us, and he's just one of those special playmakers. And I think that the one thing that we have to keep in mind too is I think he's only scratching the surface. Mm-hmm. He played a lot as a sophomore. He was hurt most of his freshman year. And he gets better every day. So I think he'll be, when this is all said and done, I think he'll be one of the more special players to come through Western Reserve. And he understands that. He understands that, like, you don't have to, think too far ahead. Work on the things that are in front of you, take it a day at a time. He's very grounded, very humble young man, and that's one of the qualities we like most about him.
Over to you. How blessed are you to let this man give you Pater to play on defense?
What's funny is he said he'd have to lock Chris in the locker room. He probably was going to have to lock me in it too, because I'm like, there's no way he can't play. He is really dynamic. We're able to do a lot of things in the secondary because of guys like him and some other guys that you've interviewed or will interview today. And he makes things look really easy too. We can stick him in man, and he does it effortlessly. We can stick him in zone, and he's able to cover a lot of ground. And he does want to hit. Him being a big bopper at safety, it's almost like the Earl Thomases of the world and the Ed Reeds and guys that we all grew up watching the NFL. That's kind of his MO at safety for us.
Almost too much. When we watch film and we grade these guys out, we have to remind him that he has to pedal. Yeah. He's got a coverage that he's responsible for too. Because he wants to play middle linebacker, and I think both our safeties, Chris and Jack Darney, both do a little bit of that. You certainly like that in supporting the run game, but you want to have them remember that they have another role to play too.
So you two are like the mom and dad of this coaching staff, I would say. You've been with each other probably the longest out of everyone.
Sure.
10 plus years, Coach was telling me earlier. Who are some of these other coaches that you're blessed to have? I know some of your former players are coaching with you now. Yeah. Just talk to me some of these guys that are young guys that are going to be great coaches one day, maturing. From
my perspective, it is really special when you get former players coaching for you, because it makes you feel like you made an impact, and that's why we're in this business. Most of the coaches that I know, don't do it for the fanfare or the pay. They do it, to pay it forward with the young men that are in our program. So having someone like a Nate Ostis and a Connor Johnston, means a lot to have those guys around. We have quite a bit of experience too with Mark Blagelic. Was a head football coach for lots of years with different programs. Most recently was the DC at Canfield. During some special playoff runs there. So having guys like that are really, really invaluable for what they bring to the table. And we're lucky with the other guys that we have. Joe Alessi comes in, coaches our running backs, and helps out with the linebackers. Joe, coached in and around the program at South Range, knows what it looks like. His kids were great football players, has a military background, so he brings a lot of discipline to the table. And then we have some other guys that we're counting on big time this year, guys like Logan Sheptalk, who came over from Howland, who played for me at Western Reserve a long time ago. Derek Accord does our line, and does a great job, kind of getting into the heads of these linemen. They're a special breed onto themselves. It's like they speak their own language, and lucky for us, he's fluent in that language. So he helps out, in a lot of different ways there. And, we were able to keep Tim Hall, too. Tim was a junior high coach here for 20-plus years, and he knows a lot of these kids, knows a lot of their family, and he brings a lot to the table for us, too.
That was a lot. You got anything to add on to that one?
It's kind of funny because, Coach Armeni talks about them from the football aspect, and obviously when we're around them, we learn about their personal lives. I've known a lot of these guys from the personal aspect. Both Coach Ostis and KJ played for us at LeBray. KJ was a two-sport athlete for me. Coach Sheptalk literally lived 2 streets over from me. Coach Alessi went to college with my parents. So I've known, personally, I've known a good chunk of these guys for a long time. So it's nice because even though we may be on the field X's and O's, when we're in the coach's office and when we're out at a function like this, we really are friends, and it's not just a business. It's very personal to us.
Mm-hmm. You guys got a great junior and senior class, that's for sure, but you guys also do have some stellar freshmen and sophomores. Who are some of those kids that are going to be in the stepping stone, are going to make some great defensive plays one day and going to make some great offensive plays one day? So who are some of those young guys that you could see being the Chris Pater, the Luke Henning, the Todd Henning, the big guys up front? Who are some of those big time players that are young?
We have a very talented freshman class, 14, 15 deep, and some of those guys are even playing for us now, whether it be special teams or getting a little bit of run on offense and defense. We have Dom Crute, who's a younger brother of a starting captain for us. Very talented receiver DB. Cole Dotson, another wide receiver DB, who's pretty talented, hardworking. Vito Armeni, Jaden Goddard, and there's a longer list of them. But there's a lot of guys that they're very competitive. And to line up against a junior and senior class that is pretty good, when they make their plays, it almost angers those upperclassmen. It's like, oh, there's no way. There's no way a 14-year-old's making that play. Well, yeah, they're very hardworking kids. So I think you're going to see quite a few of them over the next couple of years make big impacts for us long term.
Coach?
Yeah, Coach Dotson kind of hit most of those guys, and I think that, their competitiveness, like he said, and they're a little chippy, and I like that in a player. I like guys that don't back down from older guys. They want to kind of compete right away. They're not afraid of the physicality. And I'll add another one. Timmy Sorensky, who's basically Western Reserve royalty with his parents, who've coached pretty much every sport out there, and his grandfather's a Hall of Famer, at Western Reserve, has done a great job too, at running back, outside linebacker, doing a really nice job with those young kids, and one of our sophomores that we were pretty excited about, Carson Myers, has been banged up. He got hurt in our first scrimmage. He's got an MCL injury, but he's kind of on the mend, and probably pretty soon, that we'll get him back. So he's another one that we're looking for to make contributions right away.
All right, we'll take some questions out of football. We just had a 6-day event here in our area. Did either of you partake in any of the Canfield Fair events?
Go ahead, boss.
Yeah. So I live in Canfield.
Okay.
I think that they kick you out. You get evicted from Canfield if you don't go to the fair. The only thing that's I'd like to go every day, but I can't. You can't afford it.
It's expensive.
We had 3 little kids, and we went yesterday. We spent most of Labor Day there. And you're running around, and it's like every time you turn the corner, it's more dessert, more food, rides. There's toy stands. So I could barely afford to go once, but I enjoy it. You always run into former players.
Yep.
You run into some coaches. I saw some parents there. And that's a good time. It's a one of those things that it celebrates kind of the end of summer.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a rite of passage in Mahoning County.
I might almost have a stick in the mud answer. I didn't go.
Wow.
I live in Howland, so it's a 30, 35-minute drive. But you know what we had? We had a Saturday game. And, by the time we're getting home Saturday night, watching the end of the Buckeyes game, as most of Northeast Ohio was probably doing. But I as much as I like to decompress, I wanted to spend some time on film. I'm very, as Coach Armeni has probably said, both in public and in private, like I'm very zoned in during football season. It's like I wanted to do film on Columbiana. So I spent Sunday doing film, and yesterday we practiced on Labor Day. Labor means work. So as much as I'd like to go, I was pretty dialed in.
Coaches, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck this
Appreciate it.
weekend.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait to talk to you guys next week.
Thank you.